Hi there, and welcome. If you've ever carried a loss so deep it felt like it changed the rhythm of your breath, you're not alone. Today's story is about love, loss, and what it truly means to carry grief differently. It's not about forgetting, it's about remembering in a way that heals, not hurts. This is Carrying Grief Differently, a powerful story of healing. Take a deep breath. Let's begin. The salt spray stung Elara's face as she stood at the edge of the world, or at least it felt like it. The cliffs of Moher plunged dramatically into the churning Atlantic, a visual echo of the tumult within her. It had been 5 years since the accident, 5 years since her sister Lyra had been taken, and 5 years of Elara carrying a grief so profound it felt like a physical weight. Her doctor, Dr. Anya Sharma, a woman with eyes that held both compassion and steel, had told her countless times, healing doesn't mean forgetting Elara, it means carrying differently. But how? How did one carry a gaping hole in their heart differently? How did one learn to live with the constant, gnawing absence of someone who was as much a part of her as her own breath? Lyra had been the sun to Elara's moon, a vibrant, effervescent artist who saw the world in a kaleidoscope of colors. Elara, the quieter, more pragmatic sister, had always orbited Lyra's brilliance. They were inseparable, two halves of a whole, their lives intertwined like the roots of ancient trees. The car accident, a senseless act of drunk driving, had severed those roots, leaving Elara adrift in a world suddenly muted and gray. For years Elara had tried to forget. She'd buried herself in work, in meaningless relationships, in anything that could numb the ache. She'd avoided Lyra's paintings, her favorite music, even the scent of lavender, Lyra's signature fragrance. The forgetting was a futile exercise, a Sisyphean task. The grief was always there, lurking beneath the surface, ready to erupt at the slightest trigger, a familiar song on the radio, a glimpse of a woman with Lyra's fiery red hair, a shared memory bubbling up from the depths of her mind. Dr. Sharma had suggested mindfulness, meditation, and therapy, all of which Elara had initially resisted. It won't bring her back, she'd argued, her voice raw with despair. What's the point? The point, Elara, Dr. Sharma had said gently, is not to bring her back, but to learn to live with her absence. To honor her memory, not by forgetting, but by truly living your own life, a life that she would have wanted for you. Elara had reluctantly agreed to try. The first few meditation sessions were a disaster. Her mind raced, filled with images of the accident, of Lyra's smiling face, of the crushing weight of her grief. She felt like she was drowning in a sea of sorrow. But slowly, gradually, something began to shift. She started to notice the small things, the warmth of the sun on her skin, the sound of birdsong in the morning, the taste of her morning coffee. She began to appreciate the beauty that still existed in the world, even in the face of her immense loss. She started attending a grief support group, a gathering of people who understood her pain in a way that no one else could. They shared their stories, their struggles, and their triumphs. They laughed together, they cried together, and they supported each other through the darkest of days. One day, a woman in the group, a widow named Maeve, shared a story about her late husband. I used to think that remembering him would only make the pain worse, Maeve said, her voice thick with emotion. But then I realized that forgetting him would be a betrayal. He was a part of me, and his memory deserves to be honored. Maeve's words resonated deeply with Elara. She realized that she had been trying to erase Lyra from her life, to pretend that she had never existed. But Lyra had existed, and she had been a vibrant, beautiful soul who had touched the lives of everyone she met. Elara decided to stop running from her grief and to start embracing it. She began to revisit Lyra's paintings, to listen to her favorite music, and to surround herself with the scent of lavender. She started to talk about Lyra, to share her memories with others, and to keep her spirit alive. It wasn't easy. There were still days when the grief was overwhelming, when she felt like she was back at square one. But she persevered, knowing that each step forward, no matter how small, was a victory. She began to explore her own creative side, something she had always suppressed in deference to Lyra's artistic talent. She started taking pottery classes, and she discovered a passion for shaping clay, for creating something beautiful out of nothing. She also started volunteering at a local animal shelter, finding solace in caring for abandoned and neglected animals. The unconditional love of the animals filled a void in her heart, and she found purpose in helping them find their forever homes. As the months turned into years, Elara began to heal. The grief didn't disappear entirely, but it changed. It became less sharp, less all-consuming. It was still there, a constant reminder of her loss, but it no longer defined her. She learned to carry her grief differently, not as a heavy weight that dragged her down, but as a precious memory that she carried with love and gratitude. She learned to live with the absence of Lyra, not by forgetting her, but by honoring her memory and by living a life that was worthy of her sister's spirit. Standing on the cliffs of Moher, Elara closed her eyes and took a deep breath of the salty air. She felt Lyra's presence beside her, not as a ghost, but as a warm, comforting energy. She smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes, a smile that hadn't been there for a long time. She opened her eyes and looked out at the vast expanse of the ocean. The waves crashed against the cliffs, a powerful reminder of the resilience of life. She knew that the journey of healing was a long and arduous one, but she was ready to face it, armed with the love and memories of her sister. Elara's journey, however, was far from over. While she had made significant strides in processing her grief and finding a way to live with Lyra's absence, new challenges arose, testing her resilience and forcing her to confront the deeper, more insidious ways in which her sister's death had shaped her life. One evening, while attending an art exhibition showcasing local artists, Elara encountered a painting that stopped her in her tracks. It was a vibrant, abstract piece, full of swirling colors and bold brushstrokes, reminiscent of Lyra's style. The artist, a young man named Sheen, stood beside his work, his eyes shining with pride. Elara found herself drawn to Sheen, not just because of his art, but also because of his infectious enthusiasm and his genuine passion for life. They struck up a conversation, and Elara learned that Sheen had been a friend of Lyra's, a fellow artist who had admired her talent and her spirit. As Elara and Sheen spent more time together, a romantic connection began to develop. Elara found herself falling in love with Sheen, but she was also haunted by the ghost of her sister. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was betraying Lyra, that she was somehow replacing her in Sheen's life. The guilt gnawed at her, poisoning her happiness and threatening to derail her healing process. She confessed her fears to Dr. Sharma, who listened patiently and then offered her some insightful advice. "Elara," Dr. Sharma said, "Lyra wouldn't want you to spend the rest of your life in mourning. She would want you to find love and happiness again. Loving Sheen doesn't mean forgetting Lyra. It means open your heart to new possibilities, to new connections, to new experiences." Dr. Sharma encouraged Elara to talk to Sheen about her feelings, to be honest about her grief and her fears. Elara hesitated, afraid of scaring him away, but she knew that she couldn't build a healthy relationship on a foundation of secrets and guilt. One sunny afternoon, Elara and Sheen went for a walk along the beach. As they strolled hand in hand, Elara took a deep breath and began to tell Sheen about her sister, about their close bond, about the accident, and about the grief that she had been carrying for so long. Sheen listened intently, his eyes filled with empathy and understanding. When Elara finished, he took her hand and squeezed it gently. "I knew that Lyra was important to you," he said. "But I didn't realize how much you were still hurting. I'm so sorry for your loss." "I'm not trying to replace her, Elara," he continued. "I know that no one can ever replace Lyra in your heart. But I want to be a part of your life, to share your joys and your sorrows, to support you through the tough times. I love you, Elara, and I want to build a future with you." Elara's heart swelled with emotion. She realized that Sheen's love was not a threat to Lyra's memory, but rather a testament to the enduring power of love and connection. She hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face. "I love you too, Sheen," she said. "And I want to build a future with you too." Their relationship blossomed, and Elara found herself feeling happier and more alive than she had felt in years. Sheen encouraged her to pursue her pottery, and he even helped her set up a small studio in her backyard. He also introduced her to his friends and family, who welcomed her with open arms. However, as Elara's life became fuller and more vibrant, she began to experience a new kind of challenge. She noticed that some of her friends and family members seemed uncomfortable with her happiness. They made subtle comments about her moving on too quickly, about forgetting Lyra, about disrespecting her memory. These comments stung, and Elara found herself questioning her own choices. Was she really disrespecting Lyra's memory by being happy? Was she moving on too quickly? Was she betraying her sister's legacy? She sought guidance from Dr. Sharma, who reminded her that healing is a personal journey and that there is no right or wrong way to grieve. People often have their own expectations about how grief should be expressed, Dr. Sharma said. But you don't have to live up to their expectations. You have to do what's right for you. Dr. Sharma encouraged Elara to communicate her feelings to her friends and family, to explain that her happiness didn't mean that she had forgotten Lyra, but rather that she was honoring her memory by living a full and meaningful life. Elara decided to host a memorial gathering for Lyra, a celebration of her life and her art. She invited all of her friends and family, and she asked them to share their favorite memories of Lyra. The gathering was a resounding success. People laughed, they cried, and they shared stories that Elara had never heard before. She realized that Lyra's spirit lived on in the hearts of all those who had loved her. At the end of the gathering, Elara stood up and gave a heartfelt speech. She thanked everyone for coming, and she shared her own memories of Lyra. She explained that she would never forget her sister and that she would always carry her love and her spirit with her. "Healing doesn't mean forgetting," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "It means carrying differently. It means learning to live with the pain, while also embracing the joy and the beauty that life has to offer. It means honoring the memory of those we have lost, by living a life that is worthy of their love." After the gathering, Elara felt a sense of peace and closure. She realized that she didn't have to choose between honoring Lyra's memory and being happy. She could do both. She could carry her grief with grace and gratitude, while also embracing the love and the joy that life had to offer. The years passed, and Elara continued to thrive. She became a successful potter, her work inspired by Lyra's vibrant spirit and her own journey of healing. She and Sheen got married and started a family, filling their home with love and laughter. She never forgot Lyra, but she learned to carry her differently. She carried her as a precious memory, as a source of inspiration, and as a reminder of the enduring power of love and connection. And she knew that Lyra would be proud of the woman she had become. She started a foundation in Lyra's name, providing art therapy to children who had experienced trauma. She wanted Lyra's legacy to be one of healing and hope, not just of loss. One day, Elara's daughter, a bright and curious child named Lyra, after her aunt, asked her, "Mommy, why do you always look at the stars?" Elara smiled and took her daughter's hand. "Because," she said, "your Aunt Lyra is up there, shining bright. And she's always watching over us, reminding us to live our lives to the fullest." She pointed to a particularly bright star. "That one, right there. That's Lyra, reminding us that even in the darkest night, there is always light. That even in the deepest sorrow, there is always hope." The story of Elara's healing and resilience became a beacon of hope for others in her community. She started sharing her story, speaking at grief support groups, schools, and community centers. She wanted to let people know that healing is possible, even after the most devastating loss. She emphasized that it was okay to feel the pain, to grieve, to remember. It was even more important to find ways to integrate that loss into one's life, not as a crippling weight, but as a source of strength and wisdom. Elara's message resonated with many, and she became a symbol of hope and resilience. She taught people that grief is not a linear process, that it is okay to have good days and bad days, and that it is important to be kind to oneself along the way. She emphasized the importance of self-care, of seeking support, and of finding meaning and purpose in life, even in the face of loss. She organized workshops on mindfulness, meditation, and art therapy, providing people with tools and techniques to help them cope with their grief and find healing. She also created a safe and supportive community where people could share their stories, connect with others, and find solace in knowing that they were not alone. One of the most impactful things Elara did was to create a memorial garden in her backyard, a place where people could come to remember their loved ones, to reflect on their lives, and to find peace and healing. The garden was filled with flowers, trees, and sculptures, each representing a different aspect of the healing process. There was a rose garden, symbolizing love and remembrance, a labyrinth, representing the journey of grief, and a waterfall, symbolizing the flow of emotions. The memorial garden became a sanctuary for many, a place where they could connect with nature, find solace in the beauty of the surroundings, and honor the memory of their loved ones. Elara often hosted gatherings in the garden, sharing stories, songs, and poems, and creating a sense of community and connection. As Elara continued her journey of healing and helping others, she realized that her grief had transformed her. It had made her more compassionate, more empathetic, and more appreciative of the preciousness of life. It had given her a deeper understanding of the human condition and a greater capacity to love and to connect with others. She also realized that her grief had given her a purpose. She was determined to use her experience to help others find healing and hope, to create a world where people could grieve openly and honestly, and to honor the memory of those who had been lost. And so, Elara continued to shine her light, to spread her message of hope and healing, and to carry the memory of Lyra with love and gratitude. She had learned that healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means carrying differently. And she was carrying Lyra with her every step of the way. Thank you for listening to Elara's story. If her journey touched something within you, know this: grief doesn't disappear. But with time, love, and intention, it transforms. You don't have to forget. You can remember differently. You can carry grief with grace. If this story resonated with you, please take a moment to like, share, or comment below. And if you're walking your own healing path, you're not alone. We're walking it with you. Until next time, be kind to yourself and keep looking for the light, even in the darkest night.